For the majority of my engineering career, I've mainly worked with analogue equipment. But as you know, with plug-in companies claiming to offer the same sound for a fraction of the price, I thought it was time to put them to the test. Do plugins and hardware actually sound the same? So for the past 25 years, I've been using hardware EQs like this Masalek MEA2, which is amazing EQ, but Acoustical Audio, who emulate plugins, have actually made an emulation of this, and it's called the Ivory. So these days most mix engineers are in the box because it's a hassle using hardware, and obviously it's very expensive. So I really want to find out today with you listening at the same time whether the hardware sounds better than the software, and hopefully it doesn't, because then I can make some moolah by selling mine. So to carry out this test, I'm going to put them both through the same piece of software called Plugin Doctor. If you've not used Plugin Doctor before, it's a super handy tool for plugin analysis. Essentially, we can dial the same EQ settings in the hardware and the software, and we can see exactly what the curves are doing. So we'll have a look first, and then we'll listen to them after. So let's dive inside Plugin Doctor and see what we can see. So here we are in Plugin Doctor. Now what this does is it throws a signal through so that you can see the curve that is going into the plugin or hardware. So you can load up 3 different pieces of equipment. My last one being hardware, and then I've put the Ivory at the front here. So this is the Ivory, obviously you can see that, and I've just dialed some settings into this, and I've also put the same settings into my hardware so that we can see the exact comparison. So let me just tell you what those settings are. I've just added 2 dB across each of them, just because it makes it nice and simple. I've added 60 Hz, 280 Hz, 1.7K and 9.7 there. I've put a shelf at the top and at the bottom, and I've put the tightest Q that they have on the low mids and the high mids. Now one thing I did notice when I was doing this is that they start at 20 to 4, and on the real thing it goes from 4 to 20. So it's the complete opposite. So 4 being their tightest, 20 being their widest bell shape, and it's the opposite on the Masalek. So let's turn this one on and we can see what it's doing. This is the Ivory. Okay, so we can see that at 5 Hz to 10 Hz there's a drop off, which might be to get rid of some noise and stuff that the plugin's causing. Same in the top end, there's a drop off at 20K, probably because it only goes up to that. There's a little bit of noise in the top here, which is brought on by this pre. So the pre button makes it so that it sounds like the real thing, apparently. It's like, you know, that's giving it its emulation sound. There's some really dodgy bass, like loads of quivering going on in this low end here. And then we've got the 2 tight curves and the shelf here. So let's turn on the Masalek, which is exactly the same settings, remember. Okay, so as we can see, this is a lot smoother, doesn't have the drop off at the bottom, but these 2 upper and lower, it obviously goes tighter on the Ivory. So if we pull those in a little bit so that they're the same, that's roughly the same there, and then bring that lower mid one up. Okay, so that lower mid one, let's leave that at 6, so that's coming a little bit wider, and then this one's at about 9, so that kind of keeps that the same. And so they're kind of roughly the same now. Now that is quite low down here. This is 50 Hz here. Essentially these curves now should be pretty similar. There's going to be a little tiny drop in the top mids. This is 2K and that's 5K. So you're going to probably hear less in the Ivory around there, but then there's more on going up there. This is quite small though. These are 2.5 dB is each of these breaks. So in between there's probably half a dB, if not that. So that's it. We can see that they, as curves go, they look kind of similar but pretty different. You can see that the Ivory in the low end has got a lot of weird stuff going on in the subs, and the top shelf looks a little bit harsher, like the curve looks a little bit different to the Masalek. So quick tip before we have a listen to the Masalek versus the Ivory. I always start with the kick and the bass to make sure that they're kind of nice and strong, and then I work my way up the mix in my head, underneath the vocal, listening to the vocal, how that sounds. Is it sharp? Is it soft? And then I'm listening to the snare for the same thing. Does it snap? Kind of like I'm listening to how that sounds, and then obviously working all the way to the top. So go from the bottom to the top. I'm listening to the things that stand out the most, which are normally the kick, the snare, the vocals, and the hats. Okay, let's have a listen.
Come with me.
So there you have it, that's the sound of the two. Now what I suggest is you download them from the link below, listen to them on your speakers that you're used to, maybe some headphones. Do as I say, listen from the bottom to the top, that's always helpful. Listen to the bits that stick out the most, and I think you'll hear that they're pretty close, aren't they? They're quite close. I don't think I'm going to be getting rid of this anytime soon because I've had it a while. I love it. It's kind of part of me. I've worked on it for like 25 years or something, so it's probably staying. I actually think it sounds a touch better, but to be totally honest, £6 versus about $100 or £100. I think I'll probably go for the £100, but I can hear the difference in the low end personally. I can hear the snares are nicer, everything sounds a little bit smoother, not that rough and ready as the plug-in, but to be honest, for the price difference, I probably would end up with the Acoustical Audio one. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.